The following podcast may contain adult language and conversations revolving around situations not suitable for immature audiences. Spoilers and general political incorrectness can often be expected, so listener discretion is advised.
They must be destroyed on sight!
Welcome to They Must Be Destroyed on Sight, a movie podcast. This time I'm joined by both of my co-hosts. We got together here for a nice special edition of an episode of Zombie Month, March of the Zombie Month. I haven't been plugging that in the previous two episodes, so I guess I might as well just forget it now. But
yep. It is March of the Undead Nazi Zombies. So
yep. So we have with me the illustrious, the fashionably late Daniel Harper. How you doing, Daniel?
I just got off from work and been drinking a beer already, so...
What are you drinking?
I'm drinking a Red Chair Northwest Pale Ale from Deschutes, which we now get in Michigan, so awesome for me. And it was only $8.99 at the grocery store this afternoon, so...
Cool. All right, and also with us... Paul, PA Brew News, from the backwoods of Pennsylvania, somewhere, Sasquatch territory.
Yes. Hello, people.
And the main event for tonight is going to be the Nazi zombie movie Shockwaves from 1977. But before we get into that, we're going to cover a couple other little topics here and there. So first off, I think we're going to have a little discussion about Julianne Moore. This has been sort of a recurring thing we're doing now. In episodes where we just pick an actor, actress, and talk about them for a little bit just to warm up. Actually, I'll let you start on this, Daniel, since you were the one who suggested.
The illustrious Miss Moore?
Mm-hmm.
Sure, no problem. I think for me, the first time I saw Julianne Moore, first of all, I love Julianne Moore. I think she's an amazing actress. I think she's at times doing better than the material she's in, but... Mm-hmm. I think the first time I noticed her was in Boogie Nights, where she plays the aging porn star Amber Waves. That's the Paul Thomas Anderson, porn film, essentially. The time that I really, really noticed her was in his next film, Magnolia, which is still one of my favorite films and one of my favorite performances of her. I do think she's a little underwritten in the film, but she kind of plays this wife of this kind of trophy wife of a matriarch of a patriarch of an aging, dying old man, Jason Robards. She has essentially married him just to inherit his wealth when he dies, and now that it's come, she finds that she actually loves him, and she's kind of falling apart at the seams. I think that it's a really brave performance. I think that last week we kind of talked about Nicolas Cage. I think Nicolas Cage often kind of gets tarred with this kind of brush of being really broad and histrionic, and I mean it's very easy to kind of take his performances and take a minute of that or 30 seconds of that and kind of make it look like he's just this crazy person. And I think that her performance in Magnolia kind of fills that role as well. I think if you look at it in isolation, like the most manic bits, it kind of it doesn't seem like such a great performance, but I think the subtle moments are really key for that. And I think that's the thing that, for me, what I love about Julianne Moore is she has this intelligence. She has this ability to communicate clearly what she's feeling. She doesn't play bimbos, by and large, and I think that's a really interesting thing. So those two films would kind of be where I would start off talking about Julianne Moore.
Except Boogie Nights, where she...
Well, I don't think she's a bimbo in Boogie Nights. I think that she's
a professional. That's right. Right.
I am 100% on board with the porn industry, so there's no question on that. But I don't think that she's a bimbo. I think she's a matriarch, and I think that she plays it with an intelligence, and she's kind of a coquette and kind of a not formally educated, but I definitely would not call her unintelligent in the film.
Well, in that film, she's sort of a person who's looking for a family unit in that actual porn production company, and the reality is there really isn't a family there, but she's trying to make one, even though because she's probably never had one in her real life, right? So.
Right. I mean, Boogie Nights is ultimately a film about the way that we build relationships, that we build families out of non-family relationships, and about this kind of all these broken people kind of finding one another. That is not my favorite film of all time or anything like that. I think it does have some issues, but I think Moore's performance really grounds the film in a lot of ways emotionally. And I think that's kind of why that's the first thing I think of with her is Boogie Nights.
Another another viewer rather, Chris Stelz said concurred with your idea of Magnolia. He finds that to be a very foundation of a role for her. Really great stuff, apparently. Yeah. I've never seen Magnolia, so I might have to check it out, see what I think about it. But, yep, so you're definitely not alone on that one.
Yeah, and we were sort of generally talking about her earlier on. Paul,
mostly about how smoking she was.
Yeah, but mostly about how hot she was. Paul, any movies you want to bring up about Julianne Moore?
Well, I mean, we were briefly talking about some movies that I didn't know she was in. Let's just say that. Good movies that I've seen that I just didn't connect was Fugitive. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize that she was even in it if my brain wasn't telling me that.
Oh, she's the person. No, that's Jane Lynch.
She's a doctor in it. She's a doctor.
Oh, is she the one who takes his badge when he's pretending to be the... okay, yeah, no, I remember that now.
Yeah, and then, of course, she was in Hannibal.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then Hannibal, we were talking about the difference between Hannibal being more of a giallo slasher kind of style, more so than just the psychotic, the dramatic thriller that Silence of the Lambs was, and how you can't really compare the movies, but I prefer Silence to Hannibal. That's another one where she kind of she was basically the female protagonist, I guess you'd say.
Well, she took over for Jodie Foster in that.
Jodie Foster. Right? I can never remember her name.
and she did an excellent job. It was a thankless kind of role to inhabit as well, because everyone was going to compare her to Jodie Foster, and I think she did an excellent job.
Dr. Lecter.
Yeah.
I have to this day not seen Hannibal start to finish. It's one of those things where I've seen enough of it to go, whatever. Yeah. I will not let. I haven't seen any of the later. I've really only seen Silence of the Lambs. It's kind of one of those like I'm done.
I think you'd enjoy. I'm assuming you'd enjoy Hannibal, but I definitely enjoy Red Dragon.
Yeah, Red Dragon is the one that I've kind of been. Oh yeah, I need to see that one. And I have not seen what is it, Manhunter? Mm-hmm. I haven't seen that one either, so that's, again, you can dock my pay for this one.
Well, there you go.
They just recently told me about this week about a movie called Pacific Rim, and I've never seen that either, so I get to watch that now.
Fair enough. Yeah. Another great Julianne Moore performance, Shortcuts, from '93. Mm-hmm. It's funny, she had this kind of early indie career. She did a bunch of little tiny budget indie stuff. Kind of the early Miramax era. And then she kind of hit it big. She was in, I think 9 months was kind of her big, and now she's a star. And then did some other, she did The Lost World and Boogie Nights and Magnolia, and she did a bunch of stuff. And then kind of went back and kind of became more of an indie actress again.
The one I said I'd like to say that I thought was a really good one, and I own it, and I've watched it a few times now, where she looks exceptionally well in it, I have to say, is Evolution. Fun film.
I was actually just going to mention that one. I know that one as the Ivan Reitman trying to do Ghostbusters 20 years later again.
Yeah.
And failing
It's
miserably.
a fun film. It's more stupid than anything, but it is a fun film.
And the one where David Duchovny sticks his ass on glass. So, you can't
get some ass glass.
So sorry I've missed that one.
Boy, I actually saw that movie in theaters, believe it or not.
And Lee actually was talking to this previous to the podcast. I think it was 2 days ago, opened my eyes to the fact that she was killed in one of the first scenes of the Tales from the Dark Side movie.
Yeah, Tales from the Dark Side.
The mummy actually killed her and then shoved her, and stuffed her like a mummy and then wrapped her up. I mean, I'll tell you, poor job mummy wrapping. For a mummy, poor job, I'd have to say.
Yeah, but she was her...
that was her film debut, by the way.
Yeah, her and Christian Slater and Steve Buscemi were all in that opening story in Tales from the Dark Side, the movie, 1990. Mm-hmm. Yeah. For me, great roles I love her in, other than Boogie Nights, would be The Big Lebowski. I really like her in that.
Yep. She's really good in that.
Is she the one that says, I'm not afraid to say it, vagina? Is that her?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Does that word bother you, Mr. Lebowski?
Yes. Okay. I'm wondering. I was just trying to place her in the film.
Yeah, she's the artsy feminist artist daughter of the actual Big Lebowski. Yeah. Also, I like her in Children of Men, even though she's only in it for like the first third of the movie. Not even that, I think.
I was also going to bring her up in Children of Men. I do love that one as well.
I just remember now. The problem is I remember seeing her briefly in a film that I was just kind of perusing through, where the basis of the film was that the world was going to end. It's very artsy in the way it's done, and
was that the one of Nicolas Cage, Knowing?
I can't even remember.
I can look it up for you.
I remember there was just a couple at the end of the film just sitting there, a man and a woman just looking at each other with guns to their heads and stuff because they were going to kill themselves instead, which I feel is completely pointless because if the world's going to end, why kill yourself?
Yeah, because it's probably going to end pretty quick.
It's going to end anyway. It's like that kind of thing. I hate to say this. I'm not going to hate to say it. I'm going to be proud of it. The only reason I remember that movie is because she was in there and her breasts were out and they were lovely. Moving on. And that's all the part of the film that I actually watched.
She has done quite a bit of nudity in her career, and
I appreciate that.
The thing about her, what I think is pretty interesting is she's an actress in her 50s and she does not look her age at all, and yeah. I don't think she's had any work done from what I can tell. She's still willing to take those roles where she'll bear it all, or just take edgy performances, edgy roles. She recently did one called Chloe in 2009 with
Amanda Seyfried, yeah.
Yeah, Amanda Seyfried. And that was an interesting movie. I also liked her as the voice of the AI computer in Eagle Eye.
I didn't see Eagle Eye. I wasn't sure. I didn't know that she was in that. That's awesome.
Yeah, she's the evil artificial intelligence that's trying to control everybody and shit. She's also in the remake of Carrie 2013. I don't know how many times.
She's the mother, right?
Yeah, she's the mother in that one. I don't know how many times they're gonna remake that fucking movie, but
enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until they get it right, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She reminds me a little bit of Amy Yazbek too. Another good one that aged well.
She's a British actress who's also still looks really great, and she's in her 60s.
Helen Mirren.
Helen
Mirren, yeah.
She's definitely still, And every time they take Kate Blanchett and put her in Galadriel, I think she's smoking. So, yeah.
But I think all things considered, is incredibly hot as she is, and all that. She's an excellent actress, and she kind of.
I don't really base people on their merits like that, unfortunately. So, moving on.
She sort of got into it late in the game too. She only started her career in the 1990s, so she's.
Yeah, that's what I was actually shocked by when I looked at her filmography. It was so new. I would consider. I thought she would be one of those ones who started in the gritty early 80s and moved through things, and it's just literally like 1990, bam, boom, wham, Fugitive, bam. I was like, wow, that was quick.
Apparently, she was in a soap opera. She was on As the World Turns.
As the World Turns, yeah.
So,
and that was only in the very late 80s.
85 to 88, according to Wikipedia. So if you want to trust that, then 85 to 88. So
yeah.
All right. Anyone?
One more film. Far From Heaven. She's great in Far From Heaven.
Haven't seen that one.
Completely remember that. That's the kind of. I think it's from the mid 2000s.
That's the one with Tommy Lee Jones in it.
Does it have Tommy Lee Jones? It's got Dennis Quaid. It's the kind of Douglas Sirk kind of pastiche where it's set in 1957.
Oh, right.
It's made like it's in 1957. And so Dennis Quaid is a man who is discovering he's gay, while Julianne Moore, his wife, is falling in love with the black man. It's definitely a melodrama, like as melodrama goes, but it's really interesting to see kind of modern day actors take on this very kind of stylized 50s material. Mm-hmm. And to treat it as if it was I mean, you could put that movie in black and white and watch it, other than the fact that, obviously it's got Dennis Quaid and Julianne Moore in it, you would believe it was made in 1957. Like, it is designed with that in mind. And I think it's wonderful, and her performance is just top-notch.
Yeah, it's essentially like a 50s movie without the 50s censorship imposed on it, right?
And apparently she worked with Burt Reynolds and B.L. Stryker.
B.L. Stryker.
So Burt Reynolds, shout out to Ethan. Mustache.
Yeah.
B.L. Stryker.
All right. Well, we can move on from that, I guess. We'll go on to the next thing. Basically, if you guys have watched or purchased anything in the last little while that you might want to talk about, go to Daniel first. If there's anything you've seen recently that's been good.
I have. I was gonna make a joke here. I saw the last 30 minutes or so of A Princess Bride. I have seen. I was gonna say, like, this is my first time ever being exposed to this film. I never heard of it before. No, this is one of those films I grew up with. I think I caught it the first time on like HBO when it was new on HBO, so in like '88 or '89 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Had no idea what it was when I first saw it, and such a great mix of the kind of satire of the kind of, it's not a spoof, William Goldman writes about it in his Which Lie Did I Tell, More Adventures in the Screen Trade, which I know I've mentioned on this podcast
Mm-hmm.
5 times, but he writes about the making of that movie, and it's worth that book is worth the price just to read about him talk about this movie in particular, because the some of the behind the scenes stuff is just pretty remarkable and pretty creative. And he talks about writing the book as well, which is really interesting because William Goldman both wrote the book and the screenplay. This is a phenomenal film. I think it's a masterpiece of tone, of finding a way of telling the story and kind of being funny, but also heart-wrenching, and also kind of having the romance element, but it doesn't feel cloying and saccharine, and just some really amazing performances. Even seeing, in the last 30 minutes, it's all about like, badass heroes storming the castle with their brains and weird stuff. So I love A Princess Bride. I don't think if anybody who's listening to this has not seen it, it's definitely worth a watch. I've never met anybody who's like, I really don't like A Princess Bride. I've seen people kind of being neutral towards it, but I've never seen anybody.
It's amazing.
Like
Yeah.
Princess Bride.
I mean, I think
The Princess Bride. I've been calling it A Princess Bride, haven't I? It's The Princess Bride. I'm an idiot. I apologize.
I think that film is one of the true, like, quintessential family films that's really a family film. Like, everyone in the family can actually watch and appreciate it without feeling like they're being talked down to or talked up to,
Right. I mean, if they made it today, it would be made by Pixar. Like, that would be...
Yeah.
And it has that same kind of feel to it, like actually doing something that adults can watch and enjoy and not feel like, oh, this is made for 5-year-olds, and yet 5-year-olds can watch it and enjoy it. So
death is on the line.
You never go up against a Sicilian, yeah.
And it's got Columbo, it's got Wonder Years, Andre the Giant, Robin Hood Men in Tights. I mean, like, it's kind of got everything in there. He's in there. Yeah. I mean, and it's got
Billy Crystal and Carol Kane. Like,
they play off each other extremely well in that movie.
You almost want to see a spinoff with just those two,
Right. I'm not a witch, I'm your wife.
And it's got rodents of abnormal size or whatever.
Rodents unusual size, yeah.
Size. The swamp forest, or the fire swamp, and then, of course, Chris Sarandon is a great bad guy.
Yep. And Christopher Guest.
Christopher Guest, yep. Yeah, fantastic.
Overall, kick-ass movie.
Yep. Anything else, Daniel?
That's all I really have right now. I've been busy this week, so I literally finished watching the movie we were talking about tonight about 30 minutes before I.
Right on. Anything in your neck of the woods there, Paul, that you've
I rented My Lucky Stars with Jackie Chan, and then I rented Seizure, Oliver Stone.
Oh yeah, the early Oliver Stone movie when he was doing horror movies before he got his big break.
Yeah, and they went right back to the movie theater. I never watched it because I don't watch movies anymore because I never have time. So it's like I rent films to help them, and then I just give them back. And then I rent them again, and then I just give them back. I don't actually watch them.
No, it's even better when you have a Netflix subscription where you actually get the discs, and then you just get discs, and then you sit on them, and you realize, for what I paid to sit on these for 2 months, I could have just bought them.
Yeah.
If you weren't aware, Daniel, Paul lives out in the middle of nowhere, so basically his work internet connection is his internet connection, and he is one of the few people who still has a local video rental place, and he supports it, which I applaud, quite frankly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we run about 15 things a week from them.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. And it's super cheap, so I mean that's one of the reasons we can help them out so much. But yep. Yeah, we actually have a real live place, and they focus on having everything. That was their main key. He's like, I want to have everything. So I want to make sure someone that can come in with the craziest taste in music or movies can find something to watch.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's the only place I've ever walked into, and they have a place in the back, and it says cult movies. And I'm like, perfect, because that's exactly where I go every time I go in. And he has over 700 horror films to rent there. Very good. I appreciate it.
No, you got to appreciate those kind of places because they are. I mean, if there's a population that supports them, they can still exist. But it's getting rarer and rarer. And it also it's that kind of old school. Like there's someone curating it to some degree.
Mm-hmm. You know? Yeah, it is like a museum.
There's someone who you can talk to and say, how is this movie? You know. I think in the we kind of gravitate towards what is streaming, what some international corporation bought the rights to from another international corporation, and there's a lot of just bulk, 5,000 things get included in this one deal and somebody made $10 off of it or something.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of obscure shit out there. I'm not saying there's not, but it's nice to be able to get to walk into a place like that and actually chat with someone who has. Selected no, I really like this and I want to put it on my shelf, so I do. So
yeah, and he gets a lot of feedback, and he likes to talk to people that come in to know what they need, know what he should bring in. He was talking to me, and he's like, a lot of horror movies and stuff like that. I want a list. Go through it and make me a list of what you think I don't have. So I gave him an 11-page list of about 300 movie titles that I don't think he has yet, because he goes, I want to have at least 1,000 horror movies to pick from by the end of the year.
That's
so
awesome.
I gave him 300 video titles that I think he might not have. I gave him to him. He appreciated it, but I said, you're going to have to do a little work, and you might get a little disappointed because some of these I don't think ever went into DVD, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're still fighting with that with a lot of different titles.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely.
And a lot of those might really slip into obscurity and basically death now with Blu-ray. I think DVD might have been the last sort of bastion of hope for some of those films to actually get found and released. I don't know if anyone's clamoring for a Blu-ray of other than Paul of blood-sucking vampire hookers from Brooklyn or some.
I have that.
Well, the DVD era, if I may kind of go off topic a little bit, that kind of when the DVD became the standard, when DVD kind of took over from VHS, and then suddenly it was this idea that, and then Netflix started up, and before it was streaming, it was just discs, and the idea that they have this giant library that I can just order stuff from, and they'll just send it to me, and when I'm done with it, I can send it back, and I can do that as often as I can. As much as people love the streaming now, I think the streaming was the kind of birth of TV as a medium that people could absorb and fall in love with, other than just watching it on TV. I think Netflix streaming is mostly a TV lover's medium, whereas I think the disc plan was really that, but for people who loved old movies and to see everything,
DVDs for collectors,
right? I mean, and there's so much I remember there were columns back in the day of all the just weird shit that would come out. There was this weekly column on various movie news websites of all this this has these 8 samurai films from 1953 or whatever, most of them are crap, but these 2 are really not so bad, and you should buy the thing and own these. It's such that medium, and I think that because of the added expense of Blu-ray, and because most of the stuff the quality just isn't there to really justify the increase to Blu-ray. It does. I don't know. DVD's still out there though. I mean, it doesn't feel like DVD's going away. It feels like it's still
It's not dead. It's dead as far as people buying shit at Walmart is concerned.
Right.
I mean, for people like us who would be inclined to buy stuff online and stuff, they're still pretty solid market for companies to sell DVDs. I mean, even some studios do it on the side, sort of like Warner Brothers. They have the Warner Brothers Archive project where people can basically request something from their library and they'll send it to you. Basically, they'll burn a DVD for you and send it. It's not something to commercially make available in the stores, but if you request it online or whatever, they'll send it to you. Probably won't be the best quality. It'll probably be a burn from a slightly damaged print that has not been restored or whatever. But if you want that movie, you can fucking get it. So,
well, I think that in the future, like 10, 20 years from now, when we're talking to, the next generation, when I'm 50, which, my God, that just feels, I just said the words when I'm 50, and I just kind of had that moment. But it's not that far away anymore. But, when I'm 50, I'm talking to people who, are getting into film for the first time. I think it'll be a really interesting thing to be able to say. Honestly, I suspect that at that point it's just going to be everything is streaming. Like in terms of, it's just all going to be on some big hard drive somewhere, on some big cloud server, on some big whatever it is at that point. And you're just going to watch it, and it's just going to be there for you. But I think that ultimately there's still going to be that market for the, I want to have this to have for myself. And I suspect that it'll look something like a DVD. It'll be, the Warner Classics project, the one that you were talking about earlier. I think that's a great model for it, because it's ultimately this movie, this old print from 1962 is not making us any money sitting here. There's not a market. There aren't enough people who are going to buy it to justify burning it to DVD. But if we make it available for streaming for next to nothing, and it's just a file sitting on a hard drive somewhere, and if you want your own print of it, you can buy it from us, and we'll charge you $10 or $20, and you can own it for yourself. To put on your shelf. I think that's kind of that's what things are going to look like down the line. That's my feeling.
I just hope we get the fucking holodeck so I can actually start being in some of these movies.
Yeah, especially Boogie Nights, right?
There you go. Right in
Bringing it full circle.
Right in
Bringing it full circle.
There you go.
For me, just one purchase. I got the DVD Blu-ray combo pack of the Town That Dreaded Sundown. Ordered that a little while ago.
The old one?
Yeah, the old one, yeah.
Okay, yeah. The good one. Sorry.
Yeah, and it comes with Charles Pierce's The Evictors as well, basically as a bonus feature. A whole movie is a bonus feature. I haven't watched The Evictors in a long while. I'm going to rewatch it again here sometime soon. Pretty damn good DVD presentation. Some good extra features. The best is the commentary track that has basically a historian who lives in the Texarkana area and basically just breaks down the details of the actual Moonlight Murders case as they're watching the film, like in just exquisite detail. Very, very interesting commentary track. It's very much worth buying for anyone interested in getting it. You can get it at Shout Factory in their online service. And also, again, I'm going to plug Shout Factory TV because it's a great streaming service. It's absolutely free. It's basically Netflix for cult movie lovers. They just put up 8 movies by Werner Herzog on there, including Aguirre, Wrath of God. If you want to watch 8 fucking Herzog movies for free, you should just go there and, if you got an afternoon to spend watching movies.
Yeah, and who doesn't want to watch 8 Herzog films for free? Listening to this anyway.
All right, so I guess we can, unless there's anything else anyone wants to bring up, we can get right into Shockwaves, I guess.
Shortly before the start of World War II, the German High Command began a secret investigation into the powers of the supernatural. Ancient legend told of a race of warriors who used neither weapons nor shields, and whose superhuman power came from within the earth itself. As Germany prepared for war, the SS secretly enlisted a group of scientists to create an invincible soldier. It is known that the bodies of soldiers killed in battle were returned to a secret laboratory near Koblenz, where they were used in a variety of scientific experiments. It was rumored that toward the end of the war, Allied forces met German squads that fought without weapons, killing only with their bare hands. No one knows who they were or what became of them, but one thing is certain. Of all the SS units, there was only one that the Allies never captured a single member of.
All right, so
I actually have this on a big box VHS.
yeah, sweet.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah.
All right, so
Copy I watched it on.
so Shockwaves from 1977, directed by Ken Weiderhorn, who has gone on to do Return of the Living Dead Part 2. This is his most notable credit. Since then, he's done a bunch of TV as well. Written by John Kent Harrison, Ken Weiderhorn, and Ken Pear. It stars Peter Cushing as an SS commander, no real name given. John Carradine as Captain Ben Morris. John Carradine and Cushing both, of course, are legends of the screen. They both have multiple credits. John Carradine at one point claimed he had roughly over 450 credits to his name, although they only list 200 and some in the Internet Movie Database. But there's a lot of roles apparently he did that were uncredited back in the early days. Also starring Brooke Adams as Rose, who actually had a good little career for herself going on, especially during this time. She went on to do The Dead Zone, The Great Train Robbery with Donald Sutherland and Sean Connery, and she was also with Donald Sutherland in the remake of Invasions of the Body Snatchers from '78. So
And
this was
she's now married to Tony Shalhoub.
yeah.
Didn't Leonard Nimoy play in the remake of that as well?
Yes, he did. Yep.
Yep. So rest in peace, brother.
Yeah, and this was sort of her big breakout role as well. I think this was like one of her first roles. So, Luke Halpin as Keith. He's probably best known for being in the 1960s version of Flipper. Yeah, he went on to do some various TV and movie roles. He's mostly known for doing stunt work and behind-the-scenes crew work on films and stuff like that now. And also, probably the only other real notable role in this is Fred, probably not pronouncing his last name correctly, but Buch or Booch? Booch, okay. As Chuck.
Coochie.
And he went on to do Porky's Part 2 and 3, and he also did some other 80s comedies. So this film is, of course, a Nazi zombie film, as is Nazis. It starts out with this sort of hired pleasure cruise sort of thing going on, where the boat has been having engine troubles, and so they're basically pretty much dead in the water for a little while, and they drift and hit something during the night. Basically, they got sent off course by this weird, strange atmospheric anomaly. They hit something, turns out to be a half-sunken ship is what they hit, and they end up having to abandon ship, and they row to the nearest island. On the island, they encounter Peter Cushing's character, SS commander. He warns them that there is some sort of unforeseen danger lurking around and that they need to get off the island very quickly. Of course, they don't quite heed his warnings quick enough, and pretty soon we have the Death Corps.
Toten Corpse.
Toten Corpse. Not quite your traditional film zombies, but sort of half living, half dead, sort of almost android in a way. SS soldiers, special brigade of soldiers, as the intro of the film explains, that were basically commissioned to fight in harsh environments and apparently fought with only their bare hands. Yeah, that's essentially the plot. They have to try to find their way off the fucking island before these Nazi zombies come out of the water and drag them all to their deaths. So.
Yep. It almost sounded, when he explained the Totenkolb, that they had different platoons of these creatures, and the ones that were specifically under his control were ones that were made to live and fight in underwater type conditions.
Yeah.
So why would you sink the boat? Because they'll just be perfectly fine. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to go there. But yeah, that's one of the reasons why I think I don't know. Maybe that would be the reason why they could get killed the way they got killed. I mean, I thought the beginning of the film was pretty interesting. Had a kind of a spooky vibe to it because they kept on talking about ghost ships and stuff like that. So it was like really weird. It didn't set the scene exactly in the beginning of the film. Later, when he talked about the energy harnessed from the Earth to keep these fighters alive, basically they tried to say it was like an old Teutonic legend of fighters. That basically they harness some energy from the Earth and cause them to fight like that. And I was like, well, maybe that atmospheric change is just signaling that kind of that force that they were talking about. I wasn't sure why the atmospheric change was even there, and then my mind kind of put those two together, that the atmospheric force was also the thing that means they were coming, because apparently the wreck wasn't out there. As Peter Cushing was saying, he was like, there's no wreck out there. And they're like, it's right out there on the reef. And they're like, and then he asked the name of the ship that was there, and then they said the name. He knew what the name was, and he goes, yeah, that's it. And then he goes, well, you're all gonna die. Basically, he was like, oh, you all get out of here, or I'll shoot you in the head. So that was pretty interesting. It's got a weird beginning to the film because there's this atmospheric change, and apparently a shipwreck that wasn't there showed up.
Yeah.
It was very interesting. I thought it's not so cut and dry. It's kind of leaves you questioning a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
But you have a really annoyed, angry, and dicky Radar O'Reilly. It kind of reminds me of him a little bit, like a really angry version of Radar, bothered about the whole thing and giving everyone a hard time. Yeah, I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, the husband and wife couple there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'll shut up now.
Any initial thoughts here, Dan?
It's sort of one of these things where you're like, oh, we're gonna watch Nazi zombie films, and I'm like, okay, sure, and I'm down. Not necessarily a genre that I'm usually familiar with, but I'm down to see anything at least once. And watch Zombie Lake, and I'm like, oh, this is pretty decent. It's stupid, but it's entertaining, and
the vagina made up for it for me. I like.
And Oasis, which was stupid and not entertaining in its stupidity, so
10 out of 10 film. At least.
Yeah. I slept through. I mean, I feel like Oasis was a film that just kind of went right over my head, and I'm just like, in one ear and out the other. I'm just done. Like, I remember very little about that film, a week later. So I was kind of on that, like, well, what I'm going to do is, I'll watch it, like in little 10-minute chunks while I'm, in between classes, or, I'm going to have lunch or whatever, because I do kind of have enough of a busy schedule that blocking out 2 hours to watch a film sometimes gets difficult, and that's unfortunate for me. But this is definitely a film where I'm like, this deserves better than what I'm able to give it right now. This is a film I'm definitely going to revisit at some point, because very quickly I was watching it and I'm like, this is an actual film. This doesn't feel like something that is dashed off in 8 minutes just to give a reason to throw tits and blood on the screen. There's an actual story here, and I actually like the beginning of this film. I actually like the kind of it's clearly influenced by Jaws, as pretty much anything made in '77 would have been. Like, we want that kind of Jaws money. I can see a producer saying. And then when you get to the zombie action, it's not even really. They're not even really zombies. They're super soldiers. It's just they're super soldiers with necrotic flesh. Much more interesting, I think, the performance, particularly Vincent Price. Just from the moment.
You mean Peter Cushing?
Peter Cushing, excuse me. Peter
Way
Cushing.
to go.
Sorry, it's that time of night. Peter Cushing. My apologies.
Yeah. I think he sold the commander pretty well.
I think he's mesmerizing even before he's on screen, because you kind of get that gramophone scene, where there's just this, like, what the fuck is this, and it's creepy and atmospheric, and then you hear his voice, and
it's like he's giving commands on the Death Star.
What's going on here? Who is this? And then when you actually see him, and then he's a great. I don't want to say villain. He's just a great character in this movie. He's a real presence, and he really, even though he's not in the first half, it's really his performance that I remember.
I like the fact that he's a cold military Nazi soldier, but he doesn't oversell hatred or anything like that. He has that kind of emotionless attitude. But yet you can still pull things out of it, that, like, when he's concerned and stuff.
It's like, well, you're gonna die, but whatever.
Yeah.
That's the way things happen.
You're gonna die. That's just the way it goes.
This is the feeling I got from his performance is this is a character who definitely, as soon as he sees these people wash up on the shore and tell him about the shipwreck and stuff, he instantly knows, oh shit, we're all dead. He's got more on his mind than being, humane and caring about anybody at that point, because he's obviously worried. He's worried that, oh fuck, we're all basically fucked. Because this is a guy who tried to isolate himself and these super soldiers from the rest of the world.
The self-sacrifice idea is already well thought out.
Yeah.
And he told them to leave. He doesn't care about leaving.
If anything, he's kind of perturbed by these people because there's basically you walked into my world and just upset everything. You basically just screwed everything for everybody. So
yeah, no, absolutely. There's this definite idea of the German, the Nazi scientists, like the idea that these guys were the top of the field, these guys were doing stuff nobody else could do, and this film pretty explicitly combines that with the kind of mysticism that the Nazis had, which is most clearly played out in the Aryan idea, the kind of these kind of pseudo-historical, pseudo-mythological, kind of ideas of heritage that they had.
The things that Himmler grabbed onto in the Third Reich.
But also, these guys had, really weird beliefs about the Hollow Earth and about there's this kind of mystical, pseudoscientific kind of craziness that runs very deep in the Nazi mythology. And
it's perfectly reasonable to me. I don't know what you guys. I don't know.
The idea that this is a thing that we can come back to over and over again. I mean, a more modern Hellboy is kind of the same idea, that the Nazis had this mystical research division that was building these magical
full society.
Right. So I don't know. I found myself involved in this film from the first frame. The intro.
I love in the beginning. Right in the beginning is because I've seen people in real life do this too. So I thought it was a really nice way. The line that he wrote, "Don't apologize, navigate."
Yeah,
it's like I've seen someone. The first thing when they do, they screw up and they just give that kind of lame apology. Shut up and work. I thought John Carradine did his job pretty well in this film. I think it was an underplayed role because it wasn't a very long role, but it was.
He got maybe 5 minutes of screen time in the whole film.
Right.
Both Carradine and Cushing they only worked for 4 days on this production and were given $5,000 each for their work. Carradine was doing this all the time. This was his late half of his career, was doing bit parts for everybody who would pay money, right? Which is really sad and unfortunate because A, he was a great actor, B, he's the patriarch of a great acting family. All of his sons became actors and some of their children are actors as well. So this is an acting family that is sort of spanned generations right from the beginning of Hollywood.
He was mixed in with the Universal monster greats. I mean, he was in the high classes. He even played Dracula in House of Frankenstein.
Yeah.
And then he came later to be in one of my favorite movies, which is The Howling. He's played in that. I mean, so this guy has a lineage, and Peter Cushing too.
Yeah.
Peter Cushing's played Sherlock Holmes. I mean, he's played everybody.
I think the only difference is that Cushing's more well regarded by people, or just better known because
I think there definitely is a standard higher in people's eyes. He's on a plinth
because he was not a notorious alcoholic. I think that's the big thing, because Carradine was notorious for burning bridges as well, compared to Cushing, who everyone who ever worked with him said he was the consummate gentleman, the consummate professional, consummate gentleman. Everyone says basically the nicest guy they ever worked with. So I mean, Carradine was known to be difficult.
I was trying to remember. I'm sorry for interrupting you. There was a story. Someone was sitting with Peter Cushing having a lovely conversation. Is telling Peter that he was really scared because he had to work with Christopher Lee, and he's like, what's wrong? And he's like, oh, I'm terrified of the man. He's terrifying. He's just that. Oh, he's a lovely man. Hold on for a second. I'll call him. No. Oh, and then Christopher, hello. There's someone on the line for you. He's gonna work with you. Go talk to him. And he just handed. He goes, Peter Cushing just handed me the phone with Satan on the other line, and I'm just. and I'm wetting myself, but we had a lovely conversation. That apparently Peter was just a lovely, nice guy, and he thought the world of people, you know, and that kind of thing. Oh, no, it's lovely guy. Chris, hi, Chrissy. Like, he was very happy.
They had Cushing and Lee had basically a lifelong friendship, and just to show you what kind of people they both, what Lee still is and Cushing was, they supported each other quite a bit. When Cushing's wife died, he was so distraught that he didn't want to work anymore, and it was Christopher Lee that basically sort of supported him and got him back into taking roles and working again. So, but anyway, getting back to the opening of the film, what you were talking about, Paul, there, yeah, very, very interesting how they, if they had fleshed out the actual script a bit more, maybe hinted at the supernatural as far as the full society and stuff. I don't know if the writers were even aware of that sort of thing when they were putting this together. But when you take the atmospheric differences into account and stuff like that, it almost feels like a Bermuda Triangle sort of effect, right? Where maybe the dimensions have, crossed into one another, and maybe that ship was somewhere else for a while, and it came back. They actually used a real ship as far as locations goes. This was only a $200,000 budgeted film, which was very minimal for 1977, even at that point. And the ship they used was the SS Sapona, which was an actual concrete ship, a cargo steamer that actually crashed during a hurricane near the island of Bimini. Fuck. But the island they shot on, they also shot on some other locations, I think, around Florida as well. But, they used locations very well in this film, I think. So.
I was going to say, we spoke a little bit about this. I think it's a beautiful film as far as locations go. I mean, that's one of the things that caught me about the film and wanted me to really wish they would have done more back panning and more on the location, show the hotel and more breadth than they did. Two films came to mind when I watched this. Last Man on Earth, because of the film's just nuance of the location, how beautiful it was. The thing that got me on The Last Man on Earth was the location in the beginning. So, I mean, that really got me in. And, of course, Day of the Dead, with all the palm tree leaves everywhere just scattered through that. It gave me a Day of the Dead kind of a reference, too, in my brain, you know what I mean? So the location definitely is absolutely beautiful, and it really did lock me into the film even more when I started watching.
I kept thinking of Zombie 2. This is a better film.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, no, definitely with the tropical setting and stuff.
Tropical setting and the kind of similar sort of structure. I mean, different, but like sort of that same general guideline.
Well, this is a much better acted and written movie. Like, so I'll say this: the characters are very underwritten. Like, there's not much dialogue or anything for any of these people. It's a very, I guess, very minimalist script as far as the words for dialogue and shit goes. But the actors are all fairly competent. They do a great job of what they actually have. I think even the sort of hero of the picture, Luke Halpin, is very believable as this sort of an everyman kind of guy who is the kind of guy you sort of root for because you hope he's going to save at least some of these people, and maybe somewhere down the line him and Rose might get together, but they don't really do the typical standard romance angle or any of that shit. It's much more believable. It's much more like they're in this situation and they got to actually get out of it.
No, Rose was an interesting character watching her. I mentioned this before. I was watching it, and she just kept on reminding me of two different people on different occasions, and my mind was just playing back and forth. I mean, not to take away from what she was doing, but she was reminding me of Margaret Kidder from Amityville Horror. She was reminding me of her a little bit when interacting, and she reminded me a lot of Karen Allen from Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh, yeah. Well, and this is before Raiders. That's interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
It's also before Dawn of the Dead, which is kind of amazing that I mean, if this had been made 3 or 4 years later, it would have been much more explicitly a zombie picture, I think. It's almost like I don't even want to think of this as a zombie picture. I want to think of this as a kind of Nazi super soldier picture.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's that is the funny thing, because they are not technically dead.
Yeah.
Because they die. If you can see them actually die, and when they die, they do decompose fairly quickly, but they have this essence of life that they draw from the earth that they can't die. Is basically what the thing is. It keeps that essence of life in them, even though maybe the shell is decomposing. They're still,
That's something. That's maybe one little thing as far as the movie goes that I had a problem with, and I want to ask your guys' opinions on this. How they're killed, does it seem kind of just sort of a throwaway, cheap way of getting rid of them? Because basically the idea is these guys, they all have goggles on their eyes, and then it's implied when you pull the goggles off their eyes, they die.
Basically, it's not even that. It's direct sunlight to the eyes that kills them.
So some sort of connection between the sunlight hitting the brain, or
something about drying it out, because they're meant for the water. So maybe direct sunlight. They have this idea that it dries out something, but you'll see one zombie later that kills Beverly. Beverly. And I knew that fish tank was going to come in handy one day. I knew it. But he doesn't have goggles on, and he's in the hotel. Well, if he doesn't have goggles on, how did he get to the hotel? Because they came out of the water in the daytime. So I mean, the little things like that. My thought was, as just general, if you look at the kills in this film, it's a way to save money. You don't have to special effect it too much. No blood shots, no squims. Just goggles off, fall down, shot of a rotten corpse. That's simple. Because if you watch any, except for Fred Booch, I think he's the one that gets killed by the sea urchins.
No, that was the cook.
That was the cook. That was I'm trying to think who's the cook was.
I don't even have his name on my notes here.
He's the only one that got killed with some kind of special effect added. Even though, why would a trained seaman know? Why would a trained seaman know to not know to don't take your shoes off when you're walking through the shallows because there's sea urchins there? I mean, I thought that was a little odd, but the thing is, it's a film. Don't worry about it too much. Overall, the zombies, I actually thought that was an interesting take on the how to kill them. But the thing is, it wasn't there to explain itself. It was just there, and look, we found a way to kill them. Yippee! That kind of thing.
They're more just kind of classic monsters. They're more just like, and then there's this thing. You take out their goggles and they die. For me, I'm perfectly willing to just kind of accept. Let's just don't call them zombies. Let's just call them something else. But the whole thing is, you take out their goggles and they die. Okay, now let's begin the movie, sort of thing. I'm fine just accepting that as that's the rule here. I think ultimately, I mean, we can talk about the logic, and a movie like this, I don't really care about the logic, honestly. I care about the mood. I care about the performances. I care about the idea. Kind of what's the through line. One thing we haven't talked about that I did want to mention is the score. I think the score is really evocative here. I think some of the photography kind of supports that. I think it's atmospheric in a way that I wasn't expecting it to be. And I'm not saying it's great atmospheric direction, but I do think that it builds a mood and a tone very nicely.
Yeah, it's just very electric.
It feels like it's more expensive than it is. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it's a very sort of electronic synth kind of score by Richard Einhorn. Very good. It's got, I don't know, it's got that sort of feel to it of otherworldliness, but mixed with science to some degree. And it is very effective. It works very well. What was I going to say? Speaking on something Paul brought up there about killing zombies, saving money on squibs and stuff like that. They actually originally did have squib effects in this film, but they had to cut scenes out because squibs didn't work well. So they had to basically retool how they were going to kill these zombies off.
Perfect.
And
roll the glasses off, and there you go.
Yeah, and I think it works very well. This film, even though it was made in basically the peak heyday of the sort of exploitation, schlocky, bloody, violent kind of cinema, it's very much old school in its approach. There's not a lot of violence, there's no gore, and there's no, blowing heads off, killing zombies by shooting the brains out of the side of their fucking heads and shit. So
the gun was pulled out once to dispatch a zombie, and the guy and Keith basically said, "Don't screw around. Let's get out of here."
Yeah, yeah.
And that was it. That was the only time you see a gun pointed at a zombie, and they never even fired it.
Yep.
It's pretty interesting how they did that. I was going to say something else, and because I'm stupid, it didn't work. My brain went, "Nope, you're not saying anything, son. Shut your bearded face." Okay. Sorry about that.
Yeah, but I actually appreciate that it's it very much has a more of an old school sort of feel to it, and at the same time it doesn't really follow genre standards. I mean, the characters.
The kills are very blatant, but at the same time the kills are very, you understand the kills. The zombies were meant to be an underwater force, so guess what happens to every person they kill? They drowned them.
Yeah.
It's not, that hard to understand. You know what I mean? Like, so, and with that, there is no gore needed.
If you're a being that can breathe underwater whatever, like if you don't have a need for oxygen, your key thing that you can do is, okay, I will pull this thing underwater and then just hold it down, and that's the easiest way to do it. I kind of completely bought that. I was very much on that.
I mean, it makes sense. They're there to drown people in water. They're the water people. That's
right.
Very good. I liked Beverly. She's so freaked out she stabs a door. I thought that was pretty fun. Just stab that metal door. Stab it.
Yeah.
And then the metal door opens and the zombie's right behind it, but for some reason she just goes, "Oh, look, a fish tank." And then there you go. That's the end of it.
The only other thing I want to mention that I really liked was the basically the scene that they apparently liked so much they had to use twice with the picture window on the bottom of the boat. They used it both for John Carradine and for Keith later on in the film. Funny trivia point on this: apparently, John Carradine almost drowned filming that scene where he shows up under the. They had to take him out, pull him out on the beach, and basically pump the water out of him. Yeah.
Jeez.
So.
Well, I'm glad that didn't happen. So
yeah.
That's good. The Bonaventure, I think, is the name of the boat.
Bonaventure, yep.
Yeah, so she got really wet riding a big white bone. That's horrible. But that was an interesting thing because basically it's very cut and dry. If there's water, look out, there's a zombie. And they just pop out of the water. The zombies are pretty well done. I enjoy the outfits. And the thing is, they're not zombies as the classic sense. There's a humanness still about them where you can see they're looking at each other, trying to figure out how to do things, what to go, where to do, how to walk out of the water. I mean, they're just military, mummified military people, and that's all they are. And, of course, they pull Keith out of the water as the zombie's standing up to his nuts. But when they pull Keith into the water, all of a sudden he's in 10 feet of water. I don't know how, but whatever.
There must have been a big drop off on the shelf of that island there.
I guess you can take over the getaway aspect of the film. I mean, I don't want to steal your thunder, but it's a pretty interesting thing. It's very cut and dry. Actually, the funny thing is when they were trying to do that, Beverly falls off, and and there is a premature escape in the film to build suspense. Is the only boat on the island apparently.
Yeah.
And they're trying to save Beverly. In doing that, Rose is left onto the boat, and he says, "Bring the boat around." And she said, "What?" And turned around. Apparently, got knocked over by the sail when the wind took it. And then the only escape from the island washes into the open ocean, and they can't get it. That is a little bit of a bummer for them. And that's when they meet Peter Cushing again, and basically said, "I told you to leave, and now I'm going to shoot you." And they're like, "Well, okay, we got to go then. See you later." When they get back after they find the cook, that's when they find the SS badge in the in the cook's hand. Of course, he knows exactly what it is, and I mean it's a very understandable symbol. But that's when they tie in to Peter, and Peter gives them the rundown because they go into the main hall and it has Nazi symbols everywhere, and they go, "Okay, this is what's going on." I'm surprised they didn't bring up a little bit more anger and kind of judgmental ideas of, well, you have a Nazi flag, you're the Nazi, you killed him, let's attack you and try to work it out and tie you up and then force the confession out of you. I mean, I'm surprised they didn't go on that angle at all, but limited time, I understand that.
Yeah, you can also see the budget constraints where they are like.
I think the budget depicts the film. It kind of moved the film to certain areas. You could see how the budget did kind of can size the film a bit.
Honestly, this is a film I'd like to see remade. I'd like to see it with a bigger budget.
I say that a lot of films until they do, and then I went, wow.
Well, yes, but I'd actually kind of like if it was an independent, movie maker doing this.
My only question there is who should play the Peter Cushing role?
Who should play Peter Cushing role? Shit, you could. Good question.
I mean, to me,
Andrew Dice Clay.
Hey, I'm a Nazi.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Hey, show your tits to me. Why not? Why not Robert Englund?
Sure.
He'd be a genre guy to stick in. Or Bill Moseley played Chop Top in Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2. He's getting around that age now. He could fucking play.
Oh,
Nazi,
what is
I'm
that?
sure.
I was like, if you want to get more like a little bit, I'm trying to think of this one guy. He's been in the German. He's been in German in a couple different things, and I'm not talking about the guy from Big Lebowski. There's another guy who actually is a pretty damn good actor, and he probably would be a very good serious role for that. But I cannot think of his name off the top of my head or anything he's been in.
Wait, you could always go Christoph Waltz.
That's what I was about to say. Christoph Waltz. He would be perfect he's small, skinny guy.
I'm thinking outside the box here.
Yeah.
Go with me, Julianne Moore.
There you go. She has to be naked.
She could be Isla of the SS She-Wolves or whatever.
I think we should make this happen. Come on, guys. We got to
Ilsa, She-Wolf of the SS. There
yes,
you go.
exactly. Yeah, that's where she ended up.
Well, that's the other thing is you're supposed to make female casts now. So anything that was a male cast, you have to make female because of, equality and stuff. So that's perfect. Julianne Moore.
The trend's now black, so maybe they should have
paint Julianne Moore black. Is what
no. They get Pam Grier as the Nazi commandant.
There you go.
I would see this movie a million times.
Actually. I would too.
Samuel L. Jackson could be the cook. I could see that. I'm tired of these motherfucking sea urchins in my motherfucking face. I can see that.
Yeah, I want this movie now. But I guess we could wrap up with any final thoughts on the film. We'll go to you first.
I thought, before I do that, the escape. Let's talk about the end of the movie a little bit, maybe.
Okay.
I was gonna say I thought it was an interesting thing. I was trying to follow the one scene where Keith unfortunately saves the day and then unsaves the day real quick. She finds this rope tied to the oar, and she pulls on the rope real hard and wraps it around for some reason, and I don't really see the reason why she even grabbed the damn rope, but unfortunately then she sees Keith underneath the hull of the boat with the window, and then the rope is actually wrapped around his neck. And I'm thinking maybe he was okay, and she actually ended up accidentally killing him. That was the point of that, and that's
because
why
she's a silly girl, and that's what we expect.
And that's why she really freaked out. Maybe and then of course the whole time she's narrating the film, so you already know the end of the film before you see the film.
I don't think they were implying that she killed him or thought she accidentally killed him. I think it was just a device to basically position Keith in the right place to actually show up under the picture window.
You'd think the guy with the rope around his neck under the boat would have more likely a reason to almost drown, but because
I'm pretty sure it's implied. Right from the start that
I don't think they used a fake Beverly in the fish tank. I think that was really Beverly put in the fish tank, and I think I'd have to say she held her breath extremely well. I only saw one small bubble come out of her nostril by accident, so I think she did a good job. And they had a very interesting scene where it was mutiny among the men trying to survive. Where
what's his face there had claustrophobia.
Yeah, he had claustrophobia, so the guy that was telling everybody to chill out the whole movie completely flipped his shit.
Yeah.
And wouldn't stop. Even after he got out of the room, he demanded goods from the people, and they refused, trying to fight it away from him.
That was actually probably the one scene of like really big acting.
That was a big acting scene, yeah, because he was really flipping out, and then Keith tried to fight it away from him, ended up shooting the flare gun into the the freezer I think they were in or something,
Mhm.
and of course they had to escape their safe haven and go back out with the soldiers.
Yeah.
That was
Well,
interesting.
and-
They also, I don't know, I have to rewatch it because I can't remember how they actually got into the incinerator, but basically they made us escape through an incinerator, then finally just find the guy dead in the swimming pool.
And
Because,
isn't that a bit of a ironic joke? I'm sure it was probably intentional as well. in
the
film.
incinerator?
Yeah, they actually.
That's what I thought too.
Hide in the incinerator to escape the Nazis.
Yeah, I thought I picked up on that just a bit. I mean, I mean, unless it wasn't even meant, but when I got it, it was supposed to be a little bit of an inside stab right there. It was a pretty interesting thing. I liked how they, instead of trying to have him float randomly, you could see the board underneath where he was positioned on in the swimming pool, so he could just lay still. I thought that was a pretty well done shot. I thought it was actually overall pretty good. Overall I liked the whole film. I liked the end of the film. I thought, to me personally, the film is slow moving, so you have to be prepared for that. The only weird shot in the film when I watched it was Peter Cushing runs to the side of a bank to look across this rift of water to see the Nazi zombies basically walking into the water, and it almost looks matty, like a matte shot in the way.
There's a couple shots there. Like there's also the shot where Luke and them are escaping, and Keith and them are escaping or whatever, and they look back and they see the line of the Nazi zombies basically walking down in the water, and it's almost like they're doing that sort of magicians are
walking down the stairs.
Yeah, not even magician, just sort of
like the illusion, like the
vaudeville illusion. Yeah.
Yeah. The strangest thing though is if you watch that, it looks very matty, very fake, but you'll notice.
Creepy as fuck.
It's creepy as fuck. If you notice, right when their heads go under, you see a little bit of a gulp of water every time though, so it must be real.
Yeah, so it
looks completely matted, but at the same time, it's interesting.
Yeah, I really liked it.
That was a weird shot that I thought I'd bring up in the film that I just thought it was a little weird. It was just weird. I don't know how to describe it other than weird. I did like the twist at the end when this very well-spoken woman was explaining the story in her brain and was completely batshit crazy.
All right, Daniel, we'll go to you.
I think we've kind of covered everything I want to talk about. I did want to just reiterate that scene with the flare gun in the that kind of reminds me of Night of the Living Dead, with the everybody's in the room.
Mr. Cooper, we gotta get in the basement. Oh, give me the gun.
Whenever you talk about, for me, like, and this kind of goes back to my biases and my opinions on these things. The monsters aren't scary; it's the other people you're trapped with that are scary. It's the way that people respond to it that kind of makes me care about the movie. And I talked a lot about Peter Cushing, but I do love that scene as well. I think that those kind of central ideas, really well done, and I did want to just highlight that. Otherwise, I like this movie. I need to see it again. I just, again, watching it, 5 minutes at a time was not the way to watch this, and so it deserves another watch. So hopefully on a future episode, I'll just kind of say, oh, by the way, there's this other thing that I really loved that I didn't catch the first time. So
awesome. Actually, we might even, depending on what we do for the next episode of Nazi Zombie Month, might just cover a couple films in brief and do a bit of a wrap-up instead, so we could bring it back then and talk about it.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, so I'll say I really love this film. It is a bit more slow and deliberate than a lot of the films of its time. A lot of its contemporaries were much more bloody and violent and basically, exploitive. This film is a nice throwback to horror movies from the 60s and the 50s, maybe even further back. And it works really well. It's incredibly creepy. It's very unique. I don't think there's really, even though it is lumped into the Nazi zombie genre, I think it stands out fairly unique from even any of the films in that genre. It's very different. It has its own identity. And I think it's one of the hidden gems, quite frankly. And if people haven't watched it, they really should watch it and give it a chance because it's actually really creepy, eerie, and effective. So, yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. We'll do the little wrap up here. We will have the little trailer telling you where to go to find all of our stuff. But, Paul, first off, where the fuck can people find you on the internet?
Well, they can find me on the YouTube's one word PA Brew News. I have a music site called Funeral Dust 666, one word, on YouTube. Then we got the Facebook, PA Brew News, on Facebook. So if you want to see some metal music and really bad beer reviews, check me out.
Right on, Daniel.
Probably the thing that if you're listening to this, you probably already know, but I have a Doctor Who podcast that I do with my wife. We are up to the third Doctor era as of the next episode that runs, so Lee, you're going to be happy about that.
Mm-hmm.
The next episode that goes up will be Inferno, and that may or may not be posted by the time this episode goes up. I'm not sure, but you can find that at oispaceman.libsyn.com. That's oispaceman, all one word, of course, .libsyn, libsyn.com. Or you can find me on Twitter at Daniel E. Harper.
All right, awesome, gentlemen. I will choose the music to go on this time, and I think the best way to go would be just the basically opening theme score for Shockwaves, which we commented on is really effective and interesting. And we'll say thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks for joining me, Daniel and Paul, and we'll see you guys all next time.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you for listening to They Must Be Destroyed on Sight. For our other episodes, links to Daniel, Paul, and Lee's other stuff, and links to some great podcasts of similar interest, visit us at tmbdos.podbean.com. There you can leave us comments on the site or directly email us. We listen and respond to everything. Thank you. Drive through.